Hello, this is Matt O'Leary, and while everyone else is talking about Roger Waters, I think I'm going to talk about something different. And that is my most anticipated albums of 2023. This is a little bit overdue, but I thought better late than never. I have definitely a handful of artists that I am looking forward to releases from this year that are either confirmed and on the books, on the calendar, circled, highlighted, underlined, bolded, or they're just artists that they haven't put out something in a while, and I'm getting hungry for it. So this is going to be pretty rapid fire. It's really going to run the gamut as far as genres and styles go, which is pretty much par for the course on this channel. Let's get into it. I've already mentioned in my monthly wrap-up video the Lemon Twigs and Nickel Creek, and a new prog band that I just discovered called Isbjorg. First up is an album coming out next week, and that is from A.V. Tear, who's part of the band Animal Collective. He's the more kind of rough around the edges vocalist in the group, really shrieking and bringing an element of crazy maniacal wit to the band. While Panda Bear's got the pretty sort of Brian Wilson-esque vocal. His last one, Cows on Hourglass Pond, came out in 2018, so it's definitely been a while. But to be honest, that was one of the only solo albums I really enjoyed from him. I don't love the back catalog of solo albums. He always brings that crazed, hyperactive, wild man sort of approach to his vocals, but this one had just a lot more cohesive songs, and so I'm hoping he stays on that train, and this one's coming out next Friday. It's called Sevens. Next up is the undisputed kings of prog metal, and that is Haken, of course. Their album is coming out in March. Very excited. They've stayed on a very steady train. I think my favorite albums are probably The Mountain or Affinity, but I've enjoyed the last two as well. And yeah, how can you have a list if you're into prog and not have Haken? Another one from March. This is one of my favorite artists and really someone that's just knocked it out of the park with every release. This will be the 5th album, and it's appropriately named the Roman numeral. And that's Unknown Mortal Orchestra. If you look at the past 10-15 years of this neo-psych, psych rock revival sort of moment, Tame Impala's got to be like the big name, like they're the mainstream act filling arenas. But UMO is the unsung hero, and I think just as good in many ways. And this one's going to include some singles they've put out that I love. This Life, Weekend Run, really some of the catchiest stuff they've ever put out. Okay, this one, I might get a little shade, but I love the more recent albums from these guys. They're in that jam band, a kind of joke genre, and everyone knows the sound of this guy's voice. Everyone knows the funny little quips. And yeah, it's Dave Matthews Band, DMB. This new single is hot. Like, it's got that sinister acoustic sort of sound that they did so well on Grugrux King or Away from the World. Those two albums in particular are just so good. Like, if you can get past his lyrics, if you can get past his politics, which are almost to the point of parody with how just goofy and ham-fisted they are at times, then those albums will blow you away. And I feel like this one's just gearing up to be pretty similar. So Dave Matthews Band got no shame in my game. I'm also pumped about the new Benny Sings album. This is a pop genius. Like, if the king of pop wasn't like trademarked and just off limits, he would be the modern day king of pop. He's a Dutch artist. He's a little guy with big hair and these tight little drums with funky guitar and jazzy piano lines. And every single song is so concise, so succinct. It has just what you need and nothing you don't. There's no scrap there. Not a mood to something much more popular, much more grandiose in its approach, and really the king of art rock, and that is Peter Gabriel. He's got a new record. And to be honest, I've just really got into Peter Gabriel's solo work in the past few years as I really got into Genesis about 3 or 4 years ago. And I think his first couple albums are probably my favorites. I think Scratch, the second album, is up there for me. So I haven't really dug in closely to his more recent records. Not that he has many. He's been teasing something forever. But this one I'm looking forward to because I've been sort of hot on Peter Gabriel lately. So got the hots for Pete. I'd also be remiss not to mention Steven Wilson, who's got a new one called The Harmony Codex, which he announced online, and really everything from Hand Cannot Erase before, I just can't get enough of. Like some of my favorite albums of the past 10, 15 years. But the last one was a little artsy fartsy for me, like wasn't too into it. I hope he takes this more experimental approach that he's been promising and pairs it with memorable songs like On To The Bone. My top album of 2020 was from a Swedish progressive metal band called Vulcan. It was called Technatura, and I'm just really hoping they don't fade away. Come on, guys, pull through. To stay in the prog vein, but with something much more folky and warm and analog and sort of Camel-esque. It's two members of the Norwegian band George Joe with the band Eldsmark. They put out this amazing self-titled record a few years ago, and really one of the best instrumental prog bands I've heard in the past 5 years. Then I'm looking forward to something new from this very well-connected producer, very talented multi-instrumentalist named Ethan Gruska. Put out a great album called On Guard from 2020. It's a tough one to explain, it had elements of folk and indie pop and jazz and soul music and just really a smattering of different things with guests like Phoebe Bridgers and Moses Sumney. And, you can tell this guy knows a lot of people and he's extremely talented and, just excited about a sophomore. Then I'm looking for the follow-up to another #1 album of the year for me from the year before, Technatura, from 2019. It's a band called Earthquake Lights who put out Distress Signals. They play this jazzy rock that's probably the closest thing to the Reign of Kindo that I've ever found, and they're, if not my favorite band, very close to it. So, very high vocals, piano-led, kind of like the first Kindo album. So, just stoked about anything that they announce, and I think it's coming. I don't know. And thinking about 2019, we got to get a follow-up to the debut album from the Japanese House, which was called Good at Falling. This is some of the best, most pristine indie pop, dream pop with heavy vocoder and synth use, but you can really sense kind of this emo pop punk sort of thing in her background. Like it's not a heavy part of the music, but it's certainly there in the DNA. And like I said, just pristine, just the production is so good and clean and sleek and, great harmonies. And just to dip back into that prog metal well, we got to go to The Contortionists, which is an Indianapolis prog metal, kind of death metal or metalcore outfit. And their last one from 2019 was a little EP and I really loved it, but then they just dropped off the map. They're not a very prolific band, so I get it. It's only been 4 years, but that one was a much poppier approach. Definitely not metalcore, definitely not death metal. More like Tesseract. And then I'm just going to run through a list of some others I've got here. Once and Future Band, kind of a jazzy, poppy, proggy thing with some Steely Dan and Nilsson and ELO and Floyd in the mix. They put out Deleted Scenes in 2020. Love to see a follow-up there. Leanne La Havas is more of a neo-soul sort of artist, and she put out a self-titled album, which, people loved her album Blood from, I think, 2015, 2016, but really that self-titled album was the one for me, and just really leaned into those kind of hip-hop drums and just let her voice steal the show. Yeah, would love to see another one from her. Then for some, big indie staples, we got Caribou. Would love to see them continue to ride the trend, and just interested to see what they do next. I think, early on they were very much at the forefront of this experimental indie sound, but then they went into a totally dance direction, which I still really enjoyed with Our Love, and then this last one was really more subdued and withdrawn and insular. So I want to see if they continue that or kind of choose a new direction. And then I've got Fleet Foxes here. Would love to see a follow-up to Shore from 2020. Fleet Foxes go big. If they're going to put out an album, he doesn't mess around. They got 4 albums and they're all spectacular. So, and then Wye Oak hasn't put out an album since 2018. They're an indie rock outfit led by Jen Wasner. Just really solid female-fronted indie rock. kind of indie pop. Go Go Penguin is an instrumental band, a jazz band. They put out an album pretty much every year, so that one's just kind of expected at this point. I think they have a single out now, and their favorite of mine is A Humdrum Star from 2018, which is just great stuff, great jazz. Caro Caro Bonito. I didn't love Sarah Bonito's solo album, so I'd love to see one from that band again. Time and Place was excellent from, I think, 2018 or 2019. Civilization 1, the little EP, was great too, so they can really do no wrong for me. They got to come back. And then last but not least, this is a band that I've mentioned, and that is the Reina Kindo. You know, they are very near and dear to my heart. Probably my favorite band. I've been following them since the beginning, and you can too on Patreon. You can support them there. I recommend it. You'll get new songs every once in a while and get in on the news. He even released, Joey is the lead man and main songwriter. He put all their newest mixes of this upcoming album on SoundCloud there, so you can follow along and see things as they're in development, which is just a really unique experience for any music fan to be that close in on that. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. But yes, the Reina Kindo will release an album, I think, in 2023, so yeah, couldn't be more excited. Like and subscribe and hit the bell and comment below with some albums you're looking forward to in 2023. And yeah, I always dig into your recommendations, so leave them because I don't miss them. I go and I listen to those albums and I let you know what I think of them. So yeah, excited for that. And as always, thank you so much for watching.